Just want to confirm the screen.
Sorry.
All right. Just want to confirm screen sharing is working before I get started.
Yes, it's working.
Awesome. Okay, welcome everyone and thank you for being here. My name is Tiffany Phillips and you are here for Social Media 101. So we're going to learn some basics. I'll go over the agenda in a second. I would love to know, I love kind of getting to know my audience. So I'm going to kind of pull up the chat here. I want to get to know you guys. And what types of businesses you have, what platforms you're using. I'm going to ask you to open the chat, introduce yourself, what type of business, what platforms you're on. Just kind of want to make sure that as I'm teaching, I make it relevant and kind of customized to you guys. So, again, don't be afraid to go pop into that chat and let me know who you are and what type of business you have. Thank you again for taking the time to be here, and let's dive in. All right, so just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Tiffany Phillips. I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I got my degree from San Diego State, and I actually live up in Sonora, in just a couple hours away from you guys. And I started social media marketing as a freelancer in 2015. I actually really kind of started in 2012 with an MLM business kind of on the side as I worked for a law firm. I loved the social media marketing side of things. I went on my own as a freelancer and then launched my boutique digital marketing agency in January of 2023. For those of you guys who are familiar with the Small Business Development Center, you guys should have the Valley Community Small Business Development Center in your area as a Central California SBDC network. I've been with them for 9 years. I have worked with hundreds of business owners on every level. So, kind of a little bit in what I do, just so you know a little bit about my background and why I'm here to teach. My agency, it's 3 years old now, a little over 3 years old. I have a heart in the an office in the heart of downtown Sonora, up here in Tuolumne County in the mountains. But what I specialize in is social media management. That is like my niche. And so, I do social media management in addition to doing coaching and workshops. I have taught so many workshops, and this is my passion, is bringing my knowledge to you guys so that you can implement it on your own. I also offer Google advertising, Yelp advertising, email marketing, digital strategies, the whole nine. I'm not here to pitch myself right now. I just want you to know that this is my passion, is teaching you guys, and I hope you learn a lot today. I would love to stay connected. So go ahead and follow my Diamond Digital Marketing accounts. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. You can also follow my personal account, which I'm a lot more active on, which is Get Social with Tiffany, or Tiffany Phillips on LinkedIn and Facebook. So, we are here to talk about social media and how to use it best, right? So, how are businesses using it properly? How do you use it properly? How do you get results and how do you grow? Let's talk about that. Um, Today's agenda, we're going to learn how to identify your target market. I think it's a very commonly overlooked thing, and learning which platforms you should really be on. And then I'm going to go through three major platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're going to learn kind of the basics of how to use each platform as a business. The I would say top three best practices for those platforms, and then some overall best practices just in general. Um, so let's talk fundamentals. Uh, the one of the first things that I ask my clients when I'm working with them on a management basis or a consulting basis is, what do you offer and who do you offer it to? And the most common answer I get after telling me what they do is, well, I offer to everyone. And I would argue we do not offer our products or services to everyone. We have a target market, and it is very important to understand that target market in order to use social media effectively. Um, and so let's talk about what it takes to put together a target market and make sure that as a business owner, you're allocating your efforts, uh, in the places that they should be. So, three major things about a target market that you guys need to, I encourage you grab your paper and pen and take some notes here. Three major things. I want you guys to specify demographics, psychographics, and behaviors. Let's go through the three. Demographics, this is going to be age, gender, geographic location, religion, ethnicity, education level, income level, employment status. All of these demographics, we want to think about who really needs our products or services, right? So put those demos together, those demographics. Next, we want to think about psychographics. Okay, so this is going to be interests, values, attitudes and beliefs, hobbies, personalities, lifestyles. We want to think about, for a yoga studio, a local yoga studio that, mostly caters to women 50 and over with more gentle yoga classes. So we're going to identify that we want to be within the local vicinity, maybe a 20-mile radius geographically, women aged 45 and over who are interested in yoga, who are, maybe let's put together their persona, who maybe live a more holistic lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle, interested in wellness, might shop at Whole Foods, might wear Lululemon. So think of the brands that they support, the things that they do in their spare time, their interests, their hobbies, their values. And then once you identify those psychographics, I want you to identify behaviors. So patterns and predictability, what they're looking up, their purchasing patterns. This is going to help you identify where they're searching, what they're looking up, and how you can get found. If you're having trouble, I always tell people, listen, like look at your customer base, right? Like look at your current customer base. Who are they? Who are they? Identify those commonalities between them. Start identifying, are they mostly women? Are they mostly boomers? They're all local, or, maybe you're a national e-com business, right? And you can say, okay, well, on a national basis, we tend to get customers from larger metropolitan areas. So identify those commonalities within your customer base. And then I want you to think outside the box, step outside your box, and look at your competition and take a look at their customer base because that's going to give you that insight that's going to take you to the next level. And so when in doubt in identifying your target market, that's a great place to start in identifying those demographics, psychographics, and behaviors. And I really want you to think about, when it comes to your target market, what are their pain points relative to what you offer, right? How do you solve those pain points? That's how we're going to connect with them, right? So we want to learn their customer journey, look at those online behaviors, where they're searching for things, how they're interacting online, where they're showing up online, and then we want to figure out how we're going to get in front of them, right? Which is why you're here. So let's talk about that a little more and where you should live. And I'm hoping you guys now, kind of going through how to identify your target market, I'm hoping that you guys have a better understanding of who they are with demographics, psychographics, and behaviors. So I'm gonna let you, I'm gonna say a controversial thing, right? You don't need to live on every social media platform. So as a business owner, I want you to think about making sure that when you're spending your efforts on something, you're showing up in the places that they're showing up. You don't need to be on all of these platforms, you guys. You need to be hanging out where they're hanging out. So, who's hanging out where? Kind of going through the major big platforms. We've got Facebook, which is the largest network, right under YouTube. Facebook's really diverse in its demographic use, but it does kind of skew the 40 and over demographic. Instagram kind of skews millennials and younger. TikTok, you're getting mostly, 35, 30 under, much younger demographic, its own culture within that platform. Totally different conversation for a different day. TikTok's a beast. YouTube, very diverse in its usage. Everyone from teens to grandpas. LinkedIn, very professional, mostly a B2B approach, right? And so we think about the two approaches as business owners. We're a B2B, meaning we are a business to business approach in our marketing, or we are a B2C, which is a business to consumer approach in marketing. And so we also want to think about what approach, do we have in our marketing, because that's also going to dictate the type of platform we're using. So think about who your target market is. Let's take a look at where they live online and then make sure you're allocating your energy to those platforms. So today's focus, I'm going to go through three of the major platforms here: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'm going to start with Facebook. Okay, so let's kind of just talk about Facebook usage and behavior. This is the biggest social media platform out there. I'm borderline embarrassed to say this. I've had my Facebook for 21 years now. Man, how it has grown. We're at over 3 billion monthly active users worldwide. It's crazy. It's the third most visited website globally. It's Google's number one, YouTube, which is owned by Google, is number two. Facebook's number three, you guys. And it's funny talking to business owners. A lot of them go, "Oh, well, Facebook's dead." It is far from dead. I will argue it is far from dead. Meta's family, so Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, Threads. They reach over 3.5 billion daily active users. I mean, that is mind-blowing, right? The usage, time spent daily, about a half an hour for Facebook users. And it's pretty split between male and female. Teens are kind of the less engaged audience on Facebook. So if your target demo is really that younger teenage to 20 something, Facebook might not be the best use of your time. They're just not super active on that platform. When it comes to like who is very active, again, that tends to be kind of the older millennials and Gen X, all the way to boomers. Grandma and grandpa keep in touch with, what's going on with their grandkids on here. So it does tend to skew to that population as far as the most active users. And most people are actually accessing Facebook via mobile. And this is a really important thing to think about, you guys. When we get to the optimization tip here, I want you guys to think about optimizing for mobile content, mobile first, okay? If 90% of people are accessing Facebook via mobile, we want to make sure that our content and our pages are optimized for mobile usage. Local business discovery still remains very strong. People are still visiting Facebook, business pages. I'll go over what that looks like. They're still giving reviews. They're still RSVPing to events. My specialty really is like event marketing, and I get thousands and thousands of event RSVPs still. Like Facebook events are not dead. Marketplace is still really big, right? That kind of like put Craigslist out of business in a sense, and how people are buying from each other. As like an online garage sale in a sense where you're selling your personal belongings from person to person. Marketplace is still huge. And what's been very interesting in the last like year or so is the personalized content and recommendation system that they have really ramped up. And we'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. But really interesting to see how the feed has changed. But what we're seeing is longer use time because of these shifts in the algorithms. Facebook groups, events, marketplace, reels, all of these community-based content, forms of content are still doing really well. And what I'm seeing really kind of industry-wise is community is a huge aspect of social now. And this is more of like a Facebook 102 conversation, but I just want to plant that little seed in your head. Facebook is a great, great platform for building community around your brand and your business. So I just challenge you to think about how you can use this platform for that. All right, let's talk about the best way to use Facebook as a business, and it's by using a Facebook page, right? So we all follow the Facebook page as individuals. Whoever follows that page has a chance to see that page's content. However, as a page, with the new ranking system and recommendations and everything, we do have a lot larger of a chance to get our content in front of non-followers these days. And so again, really important to know your target market and what resonates with them, because if you can get good engagement, you're going to be put in front of non-followers. And so it's a new age when it comes to Facebook marketing. For those of you who are kind of in the creator world or influencer world, or kind of use that model as a hybrid to your business, make sure that your personal profile has been signed up for professional mode. There's a ton of really cool features with monetization for creators on Facebook right now. They have really, really upped that program and increased the features in order to build audiences and monetize content as a creator on this platform. So I added that in for this presentation. I was going through and updating my slides, and I'm like, this is kind of a new wave of Facebook marketing as a creator side of things. So I didn't want to leave that out. However, I am going to focus on the business side of things. So I want to show you, an example of what a Facebook page looks like. I'm going to come back to this, but and how to optimize it. But this is what a Facebook page looks like. I think we've all been to one, I would hope. And so let's talk about kind of how the algorithms work, some tips, and how you can use that Facebook page. I think the number one question that I get with how to use Facebook is, how the heck does Facebook even work, right? Like, you post something and then you're like, "Ugh, did anyone even see it?" So let's talk about the algorithms real quick, because they have shifted a lot, especially in the last 2 years. All right. This has always kind of been the case with Facebook algorithms, but the better engagement you get, the better results you get, and the more people see it. That's just the bottom line, right? And so here's kind of how it works. So you create a post on behalf of your Facebook page, right? You create a post. That post is shown to your most loyal followers. Okay. Keyword loyal. This is the most engaged people, the 10 best friends that you have, right? Who are always just your biggest cheerleaders, pressing the like button, commenting, sharing with their friends. Your post is going to go to them first, right? Because it's essentially kind of a test for Facebook, right? Does their loyal, engaged audience like it? So as they engage, and let me be clear on what an engagement is. This is a reaction, a comment, a share, a save, or a click. If anyone engages with it in that first small audience, test audience, right? Facebook says, okay, this is going to be a relevant post. Let's keep showing it to more people, right? And so this cycle kind of continues. And so it's shown to more people as it gets more engagement. It's shown to more people as it gets more engagement. It's shown to more people, right? And so the more relevant it is, and the more it resonates, and the more it drives engagement, the more people are going to see it. That's just the bottom line. And this continues until that engagement kind of starts to slow. And then Facebook says, all right, I think we're going to just kind of kill that from the recommendations in the feed, right? Then that post now lives forever on your profile or page, in chronological order, right? So statistically speaking, visuals work better. That's just the bottom line. Photos and videos perform better. I'll go through the types of posts in a second, but really right now, 2026, Reels is where it's at. If you're not doing video, you're really missing an opportunity. We're seeing a lot of recommended content taking over the feed. So about 70% of the feed, depending on who you are, what you're interacting with, but about 70% of your feed is curated by the algorithms and given to you from accounts that you don't follow. And so again, you're seeing about 30%, we call it connected content, friends and family that you're friends with on Facebook, pages that you follow, groups that you're a part of, events that you've RSVP'd to, but about 70% is coming from recommendations. And so for me, like, I always tell people, listen, it can be frustrating because if you're posting boring content, per your audience's standards, they're not engaging with it, you are going to get frustrated with, like, man, why am I wasting my time on here, right? So I challenge you to take a step back, and look at what's working in your industry and what's driving engagement. Because if you can post more of that, this whole recommendation system in the feed gives you a chance to get in front of new people without having to even pay for it. And that's a huge opportunity that we've really never had in the past. So let's talk about the types of content on Facebook, how you can kind of use them, right? And so, when it comes to a post and what types of posts there are, posts live forever. This is permanent content. It's displayed in chronological order on your profile or business page. And so I want you to think about how you can use these to connect, to educate, to entertain, to inspire, to sell, right? And the different types of permanent posts are photos. And Facebook is great because they don't limit you to 10, you can upload, a whole album if you want. Wouldn't recommend that, but you can upload, several photos at a time. You can upload videos, and they've made the change that now all videos, doesn't matter if it's vertical form or not, all videos are considered reels now. Okay, you can do text updates. This is really good if you're brick and mortar and maybe there's like a power outage or something like that. And hey, we're closed today for an emergency or a power outage. Quick on the fly updates. You can add color backgrounds onto the text to make it more visual than just plain text. If they're shorter updates, you can also share links. So news articles, for example, this is becoming an outdated practice. I will say this, Facebook really wants you to keep the links out of the captions. They want you to drive traffic by putting a link in the first comment of your post. So you'll see, I don't know how many people have noticed this, but a lot of news organizations and news channels, they're sharing like a graphic, right? Like breaking news. There's the headline, there's a photo, and it says read more, usually with like an arrow. And it directs you to the comment section, and you have to click on the comment section and you have to click on the link in their first comment. And actually, Facebook is telling us as marketers to do that. They do not want you driving traffic off of Facebook. They want people staying on Facebook. And so just kind of keep that in mind if you do a lot of sharing of links. Try that new tactic and see if you are getting better engagement and better reach that way. Last type of content as far as a post goes is shared content. So, you can share content from other accounts. For example, I, as a social media marketer, follow several industry leaders and organizations. I'm going to just pull out like Social Media Today is a great organization that I follow that gives us news. I get it in my inbox every morning and what's new in the industry. If they were to share something on their social media and I didn't have time to create an original post on a new update or a new feature on Instagram, I can share that post of theirs. So that's called shared content. Statistically speaking, you're usually getting like a quarter to a third of the reach on those types of posts. Facebook wants to see you doing original content, but that is a type of content you can incorporate and kind of weave in as needed, right? The other two types of content are events. So you can do this in your professional dashboard. Events are indexed on that section of your page. I'll show you that in a second, along with the event section on Facebook, which is really great. All you have to do is give it a title, give it a time, a date, a location, categorize it, add a little, description, and people can RSVP. You can drive ticket sales that way as well. Great way if you're in the event space at all. I do see you guys putting things in the chat, and I will circle back to questions. So I didn't want you guys thinking I'm ignoring you, but I do see those coming in. Okay. Last thing on Facebook is stories. Stories are 24-hour disappearing vertical form content. And so it's displayed at the top of the feed, right? When you log into Facebook, you're going to see kind of these like vertical, like a line of vertical content at the top. And it's going to be from accounts that you're following or connected with. So it's connected accounts that you see at the top of your feed. And these are really good for humanizing your brand, but they go away after 24 hours. Okay. So those are stories, different type of content. They're really great for like on the fly. It doesn't have to be super professional. It should just be super authentic. All right, let's talk about my top tips for Facebook marketing. And my top tip really is to post original content on a regular basis, right? And make it engaging. So the better engagement, the better the reach. We just learned that. So statistically speaking, as I just said, photos and videos are going to get much better analytics. There are outliers to that data, don't get me wrong, right? So, test your content, but the bottom line is you've got to create content that's going to stop the scroll. And I teach a whole class on how to stop the scroll and best practices and the whole thing, right? Um, my big thing is if you really want to get engaging content and stop the scroll, post reels. Video's everything right now. And so they just continue to favor reels. I have a client who they're a consulting client, so I'm, going through their content strategy and they've got a very small audience, like less than 1,000. And they're posting reels organically. They're not, which means they're not paying to get the stuff seen, but they've done a good content analysis, learned the pain points of their target market. They're making videos that are relevant to that. They're getting 20,000 views, 15,000 views, 30,000 views, 50,000 views on Facebook Reels. It's insane. And so their page has started to grow because they're able to produce good, relevant reels, and reels are being pushed in the algorithm. So that's like really my number one tip. Original content is always favored, right? So make it original. Stay on brand. This is something that I see that is so overlooked. Don't use every color in the rainbow on your marketing content. Make sure you have a brand guide. A brand is more than just a logo. A brand is your logo. It's consistent company colors down to like hex codes. If you're using Canva, you can, for content creation, you have a whole brand guide section so that you can make sure you're using the same green or the same Tiffany blue as I do, right? Or the same gray or the same yellow so that it's super consistent. You also need to be using the same fonts for consistency and get that established within a brand guide. Use a consistent brand voice, a consistent brand tone. Brand recognition is huge. This is going to instill credibility and trust, right? And so, when it comes to your content and posting original content, make sure you have that brand guide established and that you're staying on brand. And my last rule is really just like test content, test it, test themes, test types of content, and find what's working, right? Tip number two is optimize your accounts. And one very, very, very overlooked thing is to create a username. And I'll show you that in a second. So profile photo, cover photo, about, bio section, call to action, pin post, usernames. What does this all look like? I'm about to show you. All right. So here is what your modern Facebook page looks like. All right. Can someone, Caesar, I can see you in the camera. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my mouse on the screen? Yeah, perfect. All right, guys, let's dive in. Thank you, sir. So let's go through the components of a page and how to optimize it. This is like one of the number one overlooked things that I see with the business is that we kind of forget like that Facebook page might have been around for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right? But you know how many updates there have been on the Facebook page section? In fact, just this week I was going through and I'm like, ooh, the services section looks different now, right? So they're constantly adding things and changing things on your page. I want you after this workshop to dive into your page, switch into your page on desktop and start going through all of the sections here. So let's go from top to bottom, what I want you guys to look at and getting good results. All right, number one is your cover photo. So this horizontal photo, remember 90% of people use mobile on Facebook, right? They're mobile first. Guess what they see first? This guy, this cover photo, right? So if this is what they see first, we've got to make sure they've got a clear understanding of who you are, what you offer, that type of stuff, right? So like, boom, you come to my page, there's my logo, there's my branding. I help small businesses elevate their marketing and online presence with all of these services. Like, could that be more clear? I don't think so. If you're product based, I want you to think about how you can uh, use kind of nice imagery, maybe a collage with incorporating maybe some text layover with your unique value proposition somehow in there. In a way that's going to resonate. What makes you different, right? Why should people keep scrolling down and learn more about your page? Okay, so cover photo, number one. Number two, your profile photo. Your profile photos have been circle forever, right? But not all logos are circle, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that our whole logo fits in that circle. We do not want it cut off. When we publish an update on behalf of Facebook, they see three things. They see our profile photo, our page name, and our content, right? And so this is a chance for branding, and we want to make sure that that brand isn't cut off. And so for example, I had to resize my logo in order for it to fit in the circle. I had to kind of shrink it down, expand the Tiffany blue background. So you can use a Canva, for example. I want you to make sure that you resize it if it's being cut off in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Next, we want to make sure, obviously, the page name is fitting. Oops. We want to make sure the page name is fitting, accurately representing your business, right? Number two, we really want to make sure that like our category is correct because this is how Facebook recommends us, relevant to other businesses. So make sure on the back side of things, in the about section and all of that, that your category is correct. They're all preset categories. You can't make your own. That's the only unfortunate thing. If you're super niche, it's going to be difficult to find one that fits you. I understand it's frustrating. That's just kind of the world of Facebook. And then you also get a short bio that now lives on the top. Now, this bio used to live kind of down here. Now it's at the top. They've kind of shifted the whole interface of how Facebook's look to the public. But I love this because it's so clear who we are, like right up at the top, right? So make sure your bio is optimized. The other thing, which you're not gonna, so this is an admin view because I wanted to be able to show you all of this stuff on an admin level, right? Um, but you do have a call to action. So when people visit your Facebook page, there's a message button. Obviously, they can DM your page, and then there's a call to action button. And so it would live about right here. If you were reviewing the page. And so this could be anywhere from like a book now, a learn more, visit website, call now. They are all preset call to actions. I want you to make sure your call to action is optimized for the action that you want people to take when they visit your page and want to take action with you, right? A call to action. So what action do you want to take? Make sure that call to action button is in line with what action you want them to take, whether it's a phone call or a website visit or a lead form or whatever. Okay, we're going to move into the kind of this section here. There's two different things. One, the about section has changed a lot. And so you'll notice it's now called details. This is new, like within the last like couple of months. They have expanded so many options in how you can showcase your business, which I love. I love this. Okay. And so what I want you to do, I would guess probably 90% of you haven't gone through the back end of this and made sure that it's all complete. I want to make sure that, if you're a physical location, that you've got your address there. If you've got a service area, that you have those listed. Oops. Why do I keep going back? That your website is there, your phone number is there, all that contact information is there, right? The service section is really great. You can put certifications. There's so much that you can put on your page now to really build that credibility. And I love this. And again, like even the services section is new within the last like couple of months, right? And so I want you to just make sure that is complete and optimized so that you can showcase yourself in the most professional way possible, right? You can also go through the different tabs and make sure your tabs are optimized. If you click more here, you'll see all the different tabs and you can actually turn some off. They used to have really stupid tabs like music and books, not relevant to a business page. So if those are still there for you, you can always turn those tabs off so that it's just relevant tabs only. I just want to point out here, look, there's a Reels tab and it's the second one. You guys, Reels, I'm telling you, Reels, Reels, Reels. Okay, last thing I'm going to talk about in optimizing your page here is your featured section. Most people do not utilize this as they should, and I'm going to tell you why you should. So when someone visits a page, right, they see the cover photo, they see the about section, the profile photo. But then in order to really get a good feel for that business, they're having to scroll content chronologically, right? And like it doesn't always tell a story or make sense, which it doesn't have to, right? But if we really want to tell a story and be very clear in who we are and what we offer, we can pin posts in the featured section. So good examples would be, about the business, a nice service graphic or reel, if you're service based. If you're product based, do a nice post about the different products that you offer. For me, I did I did a service list of what I offer, and I did a who we work with, right? Who are my most common clients, events, government, nonprofits, service-based businesses, right? And so like you'll get a clear understanding right off the bat of, all right, I understand what Diamond Digital Marketing does, right? So we want to make sure when people visit our page, do they have a clear understanding of what we offer, who we serve, and how to engage in business with us? A featured section is a great way to do it. All you have to do is you'll see this little manage button here. Most of you probably have a blank featured section, but you click manage and then it'll prompt you, hey, what do you want to pull in? A recent post or a Facebook event or a reel. And so you can select the stuff you want in there. If you don't find it and you want to, go to a certain post, all you have to do is go to that post, click the three little dots, and click pin to top. Excuse me. So, last thing before we move to the next tip is the username. And this is really important. A username is the @ sign uh, and literally a username, right? So it's a collection of words, characters that are going to represent your business. So for example, mine is at Diamond Digital Marketing Co. No spaces. There are no spaces in usernames. You can use periods and numbers, no special characters. Okay. And what this does is it creates a shortcut to your page. It makes it much easier for people to find you and mention you and tag you when they're interacting with your business on Facebook. So where do we do that? How do we do that? You'll notice I've got my admin menu pulled up. We're going to click on settings. Under settings, you'll see page info, page name. Under that is username. You can enter that in. There's only one username per Facebook. So like, for example, if Diamond Digital Marketing, this is a true story, is taken, it's taken. You can't have another Diamond Digital Marketing on Facebook. So we want to see what's available. And we want to make this username consistent with our other social media channels if possible. Okay. So if you don't have that established, get that established. Again, makes it a lot easier to find us. And then just, my favorite part of this is that shortcut that it creates. When you don't have a username, to get to your page, it's going to be facebook.com/profile 01ABCX235, right? And it's a really long, like complicated, sloppy URL that no one's going to remember, not even you. And so when you create that username, Diamond Digital Marketing Co., all I have to say if I'm at an event, hey, can I find you on Facebook? Yeah, facebook.com/Diamond Digital Marketing Co. That's it. Okay. And so it creates that shortcut URL. Love that. Make sure you get that done if you don't have it done already. Okay, last tip for Facebook. This is going to be a mind blower. If you don't use this, please do. I'm going to go back real quick and show you where to find it. But tip number 3 is to use Meta Business Suite. When you are logged in on your admin view of desktop, and you go to your admin menu, you'll see Meta Business Suite right there. I'm going to show you what it looks like and why every business owner should be using it. Okay. This is what it looks like. It is a program that helps you manage your business meta assets all in one place. Guess what you'll notice? You'll notice Facebook and Instagram. Wonderful, right? If we're using Facebook and Instagram, here's your one-stop shop to manage your meta assets. Again, this is what it looks like, really quick dashboard. But what I want you to pay attention to is this menu right here and all of the different features that it offers. There is also a mobile app that you can download. If you're I'm going to manage my stuff from my phone kind of person, awesome. You got all the same features pretty much on mobile. Okay, so a couple things, we can manage notifications, we can manage our ads, we have what's called an integrated inbox where you can manage Facebook comments, Instagram comments, Facebook DMs, Instagram DMs, WhatsApp. So all of your messages and comments are right there in one place, and you can even set up free automations on the back end of that integrated inbox. You can also look at insights. I'm going to show you some of these features. You can look at your insights and how your content is performing. On a top level, you can dive in. You'll see there's a menu for your analytics. You can even dive into what's working and what's not on a content level. Reels are your best performing content. Okay, let's take a look at the reels, right? And you can take a look at all your different analytics in an individual post view versus your like 10,000 foot, here's what happened in the last 28 days view. So you can take a look at views, visits, interactions, follows, all of the things that are going to help you understand what's working and what's not so that you can create content that's going to get you results. You can also schedule posts out. Okay, my tip for you guys as a busy business owner who wears all the hats is to batch your content out and schedule your content out. And so Meta Business Suite is a free program that you can do that with. Here's what it looks like. Very easy. It's in the content section of Meta Business Suite. You can post to both Facebook and Instagram at the same time. If your business page is a part of Facebook groups, you can also post there, which is like pretty dang cool. All you have to do is upload your media. Add your caption. You can add location tags. You can add a message now button. You can add emojis, the whole nine. You can customize your caption and make sure that it's relevant to Instagram versus Facebook because there's a little bit of different etiquette on there, right? You can schedule it or you can post it in real time. You can also save it as a draft. You can add a collaborator and you get to see what it's going to look like in the feed. So on this like right section here, you're going to say, all right, like that's perfect. That's exactly what I want it to look like once it publishes. So again, great way to streamline your efforts, right? All right. Number two, as far as platforms go, is Instagram. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what Instagram is. I hope you guys know Instagram is, it's been around since 2010. It's a Meta-owned asset. It's visual centric, right? And while its full functionality is mobile, so this is like phone heavy, right? There is decent functionality on desktop. That being said, if you want full functionality, you're going to have to use your smartphone and download the app. Let's talk about who uses Instagram. This is big. Instagram has grown quite a bit. It's also become very competitive and oversaturated. But that being said, there are about 3 billion active monthly users. And so we're right below Facebook right now. And you know, about 1 billion users actively use stories. And I put that there because a lot of people are like, why, Tiffany? Why would I waste my time going on Instagram stories? Because it disappears after 24 hours. Because almost half of the user base uses stories. Instagram's a highly visited website, seventh most visited website in the world. It does have a younger audience, split pretty evenly between males and females. But a lot of Americans use it. So, you know, for all of us, this is a super relevant platform. And a lot of people are loyal to businesses on this platform. And businesses don't get as lost here, in my opinion, as Facebook. And so I love leveraging Instagram for business. What like about half of people are discovering, you know, new brands via this platform. And there is a decent purchase power with this platform as well. Okay, so how are we going to use Instagram as a business owner, right? So obviously we're going to create an Instagram, but here's where people kind of miss out. I would say probably 50% of people who I work with who are business owners, they're like, yeah, I've got an Instagram. And I'm like, okay, but it's not a business Instagram. And so here's what you got to do. You create an Instagram, right? But then you have to convert it to a business account. This is done in settings. Okay. You're gonna switch it over to a business account. You can link it to your Facebook page, which is awesome because again, streamlining, right? And those platforms talk to each other. If you're in the creator world, you can switch it instead of switching it to a business account, you can switch it to a creator account. And that gives you access to all of the business tools, call to actions. If you're a creator, it gives you access to the creator marketplace. If you're a business, it gives you access to all the advertising tools. We'll both have access to advertising tools, insights. You have a whole professional dashboard. I'll show you how to get to that in a second. But I love that this can be linked to all of your other Meta accounts, right? It's linked to your Threads account for those of you who are on Threads. I'm not talking about that platform today, but yeah. Okay, here's an example of Instagrams, right? So, two different things here. I've got my Get Social with Tiffany, right? That's a creator account. And so, you can see because I'm a creator on here, a creator business account, I've got access to a professional dashboard with the creator marketplace, with analytics, with ads, with all of it, right? And here is my Diamond Digital Marketing Instagram. And so, just a couple of things I want to point out because I find that for whatever reason, people don't really understand the layout of an Instagram profile. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to explain it. I think we've got enough time. So, let's kind of dive into what everything is on these Instagram accounts that I'm showing you right now. I'm going to actually go ahead and do my Diamond Digital Marketing to showcase everything. So just starting up at the top, you're going to see your username, right? So we just talked about creating a username on your Facebook and how it should be relevant and matching to your username on other social media accounts, right? So ideally, we want these to match. But your username is always going to be on top. When you publish anything on Instagram, you're going to see three things, right? The profile photo, the username, and then the content, right? And so username's super important. That's, a way to brand yourself in its own. And this is searchable. Okay. Next below that, I'm going to just do the obvious, obviously, your profile photo. Obviously, we want to make sure your logo fits in your profile photo. So again, if it's getting cut off, make sure you resize it. Next is your name. Okay, I'm going to spend a minute talking about your name. Your name is searchable. And I'm going to kind of talk to you about SEO on Instagram in a second when I get to tips. But here's the thing. When it comes to your name, yes, it should be your business name, but think about, are there any keywords that can help you get found if people are searching for your products or services? So you'll notice like my Diamond Digital, it has Diamond Digital Marketing Co., digital marketing agency. So my goal is when people are looking at digital marketing agency, I pop up in the search results for the simple fact that I put those keywords in my name. You have 64 characters that you can put in your name. So think, is it going to be if you're located in Fresno, right? You want to like maybe Fresno should be in your name. So people who are searching for Fresno, your business pops up. If you're service-based, how do we incorporate those services into your actual business name? So example, Get Social with Tiffany is my username. Then I put my name, obviously Tiffany, right? But really what I wanted to put on this one is that I'm a social media manager and coach for small businesses because this is where I push a lot of like, hey guys, if you're doing your own social media, here's a good update that you need to know, blah, 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 blah. And so this is where I'm like really focused on the coaching side of my business and the consulting side of my business is this account. So I put those keywords in so that digital marketing agency helps my Diamond Digital account get found. If people are looking for social media coaches or social media managers, which I want to be known as because that's my niche, then I can get found through those keywords. Okay. Again, if you're location based, especially brick and mortar, using a location keyword might be, useful to you in getting found. But again, as people are using search, which down here is that search function, um, if you can incorporate some keywords that people are searching for relevant to your business, that's going to help you get found. All right. All right. Next is your bio. You've got 150 characters. And so this should be really clear who you are, who you serve, what you offer. If your location, physically, you can put your address. And so, it's pretty clear. Diamond Digital, we help business owners elevate their online presence with those services. For me, I help small business owners elevate their online presence and get results through social media and digital marketing. Hopefully, you don't have any questions after that. You want to learn, like, all right, like how? Like, what do you offer? How do I work with you? Right? Um, and so I want you guys to think about making sure that that bio is optimized so that it's one of the first things that people read. Make sure that that's optimized to tell people who you are. The other thing is that this is a new feature on Instagram. You can, if you tap into your professional dashboard, oh no, tap on edit profile, you can add what's called a banner now to your profile. So, for example, you can add, there's my Threads account. I don't really use Threads, but I have, my Threads account there that people can tap into along with my Facebook page. With my Get Social, it drives people to my public Facebook profile. And so I share my kids and stuff don't go, no, not everyone can see that, just like my close friends, right? But if you were to go to my, Tiffany Phillips Facebook profile as a creator, you're going to see kind of the professional stuff that I share to the public. If you're a creator, I really encourage you to do that in terms of how to leverage your own personal account. All right, moving down the line, we want to make sure that when we go into the edit profile section, that we've got our call to action buttons and contact information and display info turned on. That way, there's a contact button right there. People can contact you directly. Again, if you've got a physical address, it's displayed up at the top. And again, make sure that your websites, you can do up to 5 links on Instagram, are there as well. Okay. 2 more things, pinned posts and Instagram highlights. Same concept. I'm going to move down to pinned posts. Same concept with Facebook and Instagram. If we want people to really understand who we are, what we do, what we offer, who we serve, I encourage you, you can pin up to 3 posts on Instagram. I encourage you to create up to 3. That'll let people know those vital pieces of information that they're looking for, right? So for me, it's meet the team, who we work with, and services. I highly encourage you guys to do that. All you have to do is post it as normal and then go to that post and tap pin post. And it'll be pinned to the top. The last thing here, Instagram highlights. You'll see these little bubbles right here. Why should you do stories when they disappear after 24 hours, right? Well, Instagram stories can be bookmarked and saved forever as an Instagram highlight. And so this is a little more of like a 102 lesson, but I encourage you guys to think of the main pages that you want people to go to on your website and making what's called an Instagram highlight. If you're curious about like how you can utilize things, like look at my Diamond Digital, go to my Diamond Digital account. And view through them. They're displayed in chronological order. They should kind of tell a story and get people to understand and digest content, almost in an episodical kind of manner. All right. So Instagram highlights, if you really want to optimize your account, that's what those are, and that's how you can do that. All right, let's talk about the algorithms. Really, really similar to Facebook. Meta's pretty in line with their algorithms on the different platforms. Same concept, better engagement, better reach, end of story, right? The same recommendation system is on Instagram, just like Facebook. It's a little different in how it looks, but the bottom line is that there's a lot more non-follower content being shown in the feed now, right? Again, we're seeing like anywhere from 50 to 70% of the feed being recommended content. This is all going to be based off of what you're engaging with. So again, We really want to understand that target market, right? We really want to understand psychographics of our target market because if we can hit those kind of pain points, if we can relate to them on a human level, like, and we can get that engagement, we can get put in front of non-followers and new faces without having to pay for it. The biggest like thing that I've kind of seen in the last, I would say like year or so, is that I've noticed that posts are living a little longer in the feed than they used to. Like, a couple of years ago, you would put a post up, it would kind of be gone within a half a day to a day, depending on your audience size and the engagement, right? And now I'm seeing that those posts are still getting engagement like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days later because of this recommendation system. So kind of just like personal recommendation or personal observation of mine that I want you to know. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but a lot of social marketers are saying the same. I don't think this is a bad thing. I love that, the lifespan is a little longer. It just seems to be drawn out a little more. Instead of a flood of engagement, it's a slow trickle of engagement. So if you're kind of panicking after a day, oh man, that post flopped, just have a seat, take a deep breath. It might do better than you think, right? Let's talk about story algorithms on Instagram. This is actually a big thing. When you log into Instagram, on the homepage, you're going to see the little bubbles at the top. Those are stories. You see stories from accounts that you follow, only accounts that you follow. Okay. You can view anyone's story by going to their profile, but the bottom line is the feed of stories are accounts that you follow. You're going to notice the same few people in the beginning of your stories feed. Those are the people that you're interacting with the most, right? And so I want you to be thinking about how you can drive engagement via stories. Why? Because then you move up to the front of the line for people's stories feed. But also, the more people interact with you in stories, the more they are likely to see your content in the feed. So this is my little engagement hack for you guys. Get people to interact with you in stories. Use polls and interactive features because that's going to make your account more relative to the algorithm. When it comes to the Reels algorithm and the Reels feed, engagement, replays, retention, those are all really big factors. But really, Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, came online and said, listen, if you guys want to know the biggest factors for non-connected accounts on Reels, sends per reach, meaning how many non-followers are sending your content. Sends are a huge social behavior on social, but specifically to Instagram, also to TikTok. But sends per reach is the biggest factor. Now, for connected accounts, so like the people who follow us, that we're connected to already, that have kind of been, engaging with our content already, likes per reach is the biggest factor in Instagram saying, all right, this piece of content is relevant and we're going to keep showing it to more people, or we're going to show it to a new set of faces. So I want you guys to think about that. How can you drive likes? How can you drive sends? Sends are a huge thing. All right, let's talk about the types of content on Instagram. Reels, of course, right? Reels are really taking over Instagram. They have been for a while. This is not new news. Now they did extend the time limit of Reels. It used to be only 90 seconds. They've expanded that a year and a half ago. It's been a while. They've expanded that to 3 minutes in app, but they're now also allowing you to upload videos that are longer than that. That being said, in order to be recommended in the feed to non-followers, it has to be 3 minutes or shorter. There's your little tip of the day. Honestly, short digestible content is what's working well. That's kind of the bottom line. Unless you're doing some long episodical kind of medium form content, stick with short. Statistically speaking, the 30 to 60-second spot is the sweet spot. All right, so how do Reels work? Reels are distributed to both the home feed and the Reels feed. We've got, a Reels tab on Instagram. And so they're distributed to both, right? The reel can also show up in the explore section, which is that little search icon at the bottom of your Instagram. Reels live forever in the reel section of your profile, right? But also they can be shown on your profile grid. If you don't like the way that looks on your grid, on your profile, you can hide them and they just live, in the grid of the reel section. If that's over your head, that's okay. This is 101 for those of you who are a little more advanced and knowledgeable of Instagram. Hopefully that makes sense. There's also a static feed post, right? And we can do up to 20 pieces of content at a time, or we can do a single piece of content. Again, these are distributed to the home feed. They can also show up in the explore section. These live forever on the grid of your profile. You can't hide these. So you can share again, one photo, one graphic, one piece of content, or you can share what's called a carousel with multiple pieces of content. So it's 2 to 20 pieces of content. And in order to see the content, you swipe. So you'll see the little dots below the pieces of content. That's to indicate people should swipe to digest that content. What's lovely about carousels, if you want to talk about an engagement hack, is that carousels usually show up in the feed twice, right? And so they usually show up in the feed the first time with that first slide, right? So we kind of call that the cover photo. And then if someone sees it and they don't engage with it with that first slide, Instagram usually, most of the time, are going to show that person who hasn't engaged yet that carousel with the second slide. Okay, so we really want to be strategic. My battery is running low. That's so funny. We really want to be strategic about what content we're putting on the sides of the feed. And so, again, I would consider this like a title page and then a subtitle page. That is the best way that I can put it and how you can hook people in to view your content. Okay. Now, when it comes to stories, again, this is 24-hour disappearing content. This should be humanizing because this is going to be shown to your audience. Okay. The people who follow you. 99% of my story views and all of the accounts that I manage are coming from followers. So how do we use these to humanize your brands? You show your, behind the scenes content. You can definitely sell on stories too, but really this should be super like on the fly, show up content. Okay. There's also live on Instagram. And what's interesting is they've updated the criteria for live now. I believe you have to have, I think it's 1,000 followers now to go live on Instagram. But live is still around, you guys. It's still alive. It's a great way to show up authentically. You can repurpose that as a reel, which will live, obviously forever on your Reels feed. Live isn't as popular as it used to be, but it's still a thing for bigger accounts for sure. Okay, so my 3 tips for Instagram. Publish original content, right? There was a new update that happened last week. I want you guys to pay attention if you use, or repurpose any other accounts content. Instagram's really, really punishing that right now. You have to share original content. What happened is the creator world said, hey, especially when it comes to influencer marketing and UGC and this whole world of like people are getting paid to create content and accounts were stealing that content and sharing it on behalf of their account without permission, without compensation. And creators, they were not happy about it. So Instagram's updated its policies, and they have, as of last week, also updated their algorithms, and they are only favoring original content. And so if you share any type of UGC, you have to make it your own. This is, I'm going to just give you guys an example just for context and helping you understand this concept. If you're a visitors bureau trying to get people to come up and visit, and you've got a couple of influencers who have gotten some great pictures of your area that you want to use on the feed. In the past, we've been able to say, hey, is it okay if we share this piece of content? And as long as you get written consent from the creator, photographer, whoever it is, it's a creator on Instagram, influencer, and you credit them, it's fine, right? Like Instagram doesn't punish you for that. They then kind of rolled out the repost feature. And the bottom line is this. Last week they said enough is enough. Like if you want to use that picture of, that beautiful picture of downtown Fresno as the visitors bureau, make it your own, or we're not going to recommend your account. And so this is a really, really big update. It's something that I really need to share with my followers. but it really comes down to sharing original content. All right, that's the bottom line. It's really competitive in the feed right now. People are getting buried easier, more often than they ever were. It's a lot harder to stop the scroll. You have 1.7 seconds to stop the scroll. It's less than 2 seconds, you guys. And so we've really got to do good quality original content. I want you to think kind of like baseline of what you should be expecting. You don't need to be posting every day, by the way. But the more you post, the more you're going to grow. That is just the bottom line of things. The benchmark for a growth rate on Instagram for people who are posting regularly, the 3, 4, 5 times a week, about 1% right now, 1% per month. So if you're going, I'm not growing, like go to your analytics, look at your professional dashboard. What is your growth rate? That's going to tell you how you're doing, really. Okay. Statistically speaking, reels are the number one piece of content you can be producing on Instagram, followed by carousels. Carousels are still doing really well on Instagram because of that hack of how to design them, right? So I hope that was a good piece of content, information for you guys. Okay, tip number 2 is to use keywords in your posts and reels to get them ranked. And what used to be on this slide is use hashtags, and then it kind of evolved. Use hashtags and keywords. And now I'm telling you, use keywords, guys. Use keywords. So let's talk about this real quick. Search engine optimization, SEO, is not just for websites anymore. It is on social. It is a thing. Okay. People are using social as a search and discovery tool. You have to be able to be found. So, how do we do that? We want to optimize our name, right? Our username and our name on Instagram, as I just told you. We want to make sure our bio actually helps us get ranked as well. So we want to make that super relevant. But then we really want to make our content relevant to get ranked. And we do this by using keywords. Okay. You can use a couple of hashtags. They're not totally dead, but Instagram did limit hashtags to 5. Just in the last year, they said enough of the 30 hashtags. There used to be 30 as the max limit. We're limiting it to 5. TikTok did the same thing. And so they're not as relevant. What you want to do is think about the words that people are using to find you and your products or services, and use those words in your captions and text layovers on your reels and stuff. That is what's going to get your stuff indexed, all right, is keywords. So use those keywords, use them a couple times in the caption. Good example, if you're wanting to drag people to Yosemite, you want to use and, feature something from Yosemite National Park. You want to put Yosemite in there like, 2, 3, 4 times. Instagram's going to get, okay, Yosemite, Yosemite, Yosemite. We're going to rank this for people looking for Yosemite. Great little hack. Use those keywords, right? It's something that is often overlooked. People just don't get it. 86% of people are the younger generation, Gen Z, are using TikTok over Google. That's their number one search engine to find content. The same is on Instagram. It's not as high, it's not 86%, but about 50% in general of people are using social for search now. So we want to make sure our content and our accounts get found. Okay. My last tip is to use Reels. Obviously, these came about because during the pandemic, TikTok just exploded, short video exploded, and Instagram says, let's get on that train. So, a reel is just like a TikTok. It's a vertical form, short video. Again, if created within Instagram, you've got a 3-minute limit. They're full screen, fully immersive pieces of content. You can add music, you can add filters, you can add stickers, you can add captions, you can add polls, you can add multi-clips, you can edit the length of clips, you can make really cool transitions between clips, you can do text layovers, you can add elements, you can add so much to make a really boring video really cool, right? And so I really want you guys, if you're not using video, start getting used to it. And this is where I teach my clients, if you're a consulting client and you're like, Tiff, I have no idea where to start with video. You know what? I really recommend you start using stories because that interface is the same as Instagram Reels. Jump on Instagram stories, get familiar with the interface, right? Get familiar with the UI and start jumping on stories and creating content there. And then move into the Reels interface. If you really want to elevate your content, you can use what's called Edits. Edits is an app that Meta created that links to your Instagram. You have to have an Instagram account to use Edits. But it's a video editing app, right? So for those of you who know CapCut, CapCut went away for that like 20-hour ban back in 2024. No, 20, was that 2024, 25? Anyway, bottom line is CapCut is owned by TikTok. During that TikTok ban, that short-lived TikTok ban, CapCut went away. Meta said, hey, how do we capitalize on this? Once again, so they got their own video editing app that they rolled out. Here's the thing, Edits has been around now for a year. It was like 2 years ago. It marked their 1 year anniversary. They roll out new features every single week. I share it to my stories for my followers every single week. It's actually gotten to be a pretty cool video editing app. And so if you don't want to explore CapCut and kind of like the big complex editing features there, but then you want to step it up from the Reels interface, use Edits. It syncs with your Facebook, it syncs with your Instagram. You can automatically share. You can save it without a watermark. Love the Edits interface. So if you want to elevate your Reels, use Edits. All right, I'm gonna do this last platform relatively quickly. Um, and it's LinkedIn. Okay, so this is the world's largest professional network. And it's growing substantially. And so LinkedIn can be used to connect and strengthen your professional relationships. People use it to find a job. There are recruiters on LinkedIn as well. They've got a really great learning section as well where you can learn modules. There's a couple different ways that people can use it, but the bottom line is to get on LinkedIn, you have to create a profile. And your profile is essentially a virtual resume and portfolio of your professional life. If you've got an actual company that's relevant in the B2B world, this is a very B2B platform, not a B2C, then you can create what's called a company page. There's 1.3, it's funny, fun little story. I was updating my slides and I hadn't updated this presentation in 2 years. And so before updating my slides, we were around 900 million total monthly active users on LinkedIn, and we're at 1.3 billion total users now. So that kind of just shows the growth in this platform. It does skew a little more male than female, but relatively even. The largest audience is between 25 and 34, but the fastest growing demographic is the 18 to 24 demographic because they're entering the workforce, right? And they're starting to prioritize their professional branding a lot earlier in life than, maybe the millennial population did. And so over half, and this was really interesting to update as well, over half of users on LinkedIn have a college degree, bachelor's primarily, but over half of users also make more than 100 grand. I had to update that from 75 grand to 100 grand. Just goes to show how this platform is evolving. And so, what we're seeing here is a lot of business decision makers on this platform, in addition to people really entering the workforce and trying to establish that professionalism as they enter their career and start growing their career. There's two different ways to use it. You can use your LinkedIn profile to connect with people, clients, connections, networking, right? Or you can create a company LinkedIn page. Here's what a company LinkedIn page looks like. Kind of same thing. There's a cover photo, there's a profile photo. Just want to point out it's square here. It's the only square profile photo left on social, I think. You've got a name, you've got a quick bio, you've got a category. It showcases how many employees you have because this is such an employee heavy platform. You've got your tabs here with the basic overview, but people can take a look at your posts, your about section, who works there, any job openings you have, and then you also get to post as a page just like any other social platform. Here's an example of like my profile, for example. You want to optimize this as much as possible as far as, your title, your job title, your experience, your college education, the company that you work for, your about section. What I really want to point out is your about section and experience and education should be updated and really relevant because, again, this is your professional online resume, pretty much, right? So if you haven't taken a look at that, get it updated. There are several different types of content on LinkedIn. You can do photos, you can do video, you can do text, you can do files and documents. Documents are where it's been at lately. That's what's getting the highest engagement, interestingly enough. There's articles, there's newsletters. Here's what it looks like when you go to create a LinkedIn post. Um, my tip here is just keep it professional, right? No one wants to know what you're having for lunch or what your cat looks like a Facebook or Instagram. This is strictly professional content, updates about your industry, sharing your accomplishments and your involvement, sharing relevant articles with your expertise added onto it, informative posts. You're here to build credibility and establish trust and build relationships. That is what LinkedIn is for, right? And if you've got a company page, share your company page's updates on behalf of your professional account, like your personal account, to help increase reach. Tag your colleagues, whether it's with a different company, or not. And what LinkedIn's really kind of rewarding is meaningful interactions and knowledge sharing. So content's lasting a lot longer on here. And that's what I'm finding really interesting is how the algorithms have shifted in the last couple of years. They've really leaned into AI and I haven't touched on AI like in depth, but they've really leaned into AI with their search bar updates and some other things going on. But here's the bottom line. Create professional content and make sure that it's got some rich media. So like image collages and carousels. Carousels do really well. I was just reading like a recent study on best performing content on LinkedIn. Carousels, when sharing your documents as PDFs as a carousel is the top performing piece of content on LinkedIn as of a month ago. So documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, these can showcase your knowledge. They can showcase what makes your brand unique. You can do case studies. You can do all sorts of stuff to really showcase yourself or your company. Video is great. And then, make sure that you're communicating and interacting with others. Okay, my last tip is to, like the other two platforms, make sure you're optimizing and completing your page and or profile. So all those things I showed you, make sure your profile photo is a nice headshot. Make sure there's no busyness in the background. Like, I just went to Social Media Marketing World. It's like the biggest convention there is for social media marketing. And it was funny because one of the main keynote speakers was like, how many of you guys don't have a professional headshot with a block color in the background? Because like you got to have those, right? So that's a really easy way to have a nice like headshot and keep it on brand with your company. Cover photo, call to action button, organization information. Do a showcase in your featured section. Make sure your education is filled out. Make sure your experience is filled out. Make sure you're asking for endorsements. Use the featured section to showcase, top performing things that you've done in the industry, right? But make sure it's all optimized. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes to go through some kind of best practices, and I'm going to do Q&A. So start thinking if you have any questions, feel free to enter it into the chat. But let's go through just some overall best practices. And number one is to post with purpose. A lot of people are like, Tiffany, what do I even post? Like, where do I start? And this is part of my social media strategy webinar, which I would love to teach for you guys. It's so relevant to every business owner out there. But content pillars and content themes are super important. So if you want to learn about posting with purpose, this is step one, is establishing those pillars and themes. I map it out in my strategy webinar workshop. But here's the bottom line is they're going to give consumers, clients, customers a strong and consistent feel for your brand. What are you posting? Why are you posting it? So think about those things. I always think purpose and then theme and then ideas. That's kind of how I map it out. And beyond that, obviously make sure you're staying on brand. But beyond the concept of like pillars, make sure it's also linking to the core values and beliefs in your mission statement as a business. Because, purpose does matter. And that's why people are supporting businesses, especially small businesses. It's the why behind the business, it's the human behind the business, right? So, pillars are super important, but also don't be afraid to get to the heart of your business as well. Okay, this is one that I tell probably 90% of my clients, Square's out. Like Square's pretty much out on social. Vertical is in. Optimize your content for vertical for the most part, right? The right ratios are 4:5 and 9:16. 1:1 is still there, right? But if we look at the grid on Instagram, it's the vertical grid now, right? It's no longer a square grid. And so I just want you guys to be shifting your mindset when you're creating content for social. It shouldn't always be square. It should be optimized for that platform. And a lot of these platforms are optimizing vertical content. When creating that content, make sure you know the safe zones for the different types of content. For example, like Reels. You don't want to put anything in the top 15% or bottom 15% of your reel. There's a little like danger zone on the sides, right? You want to make sure that everything's placed so that, faces are centered. Products and main text should hit like your eye level, right? When consuming. Leave space when creating content, leave space for, overlays like the like button, for example, right? Make sure that your stuff isn't going to get blocked by that. The easiest way to see if your content's going to be good is to use the preview button when it comes to video. When it comes to posting with purpose, also want you to think about value-driven content, not necessarily volume. Everyone's like, oh my God, I have to post every day, like 5 times a day. No, you don't. You just have to post good value-driven content, period, right? So if we look at the statistic, that top bullet point, dude, people spend over 2 hours a day on social media. They interact with less than 1%, less than 1%, less than 1%. Keep telling yourself that. When you're looking at your analytics and you're like, why? Why are my content interactions not as high as they used to be 2 years ago? Because we're on overload in the feed, right? As scrollers, we're on overload. So it really takes a lot to get people to engage. Posting just to post, it's not going to help you. It might actually hurt you. Okay. So you're going to kind of lose relevance. I just want you to focus on creating good content. One high value post is better than 5 fluff posts. Okay. Focus on connection, focus on authenticity, focus on education, focus on creating things that are going to get saves and shares, right? And be consistent with your post cadence. When I say you don't have to post every day, you don't, but you still need to be consistent. Find a cadence that works with you, right? Find a cadence, maybe it's 3 days a week. That's fine. Maybe you're going to post 5 stories a week and 3, posts a week. Maybe out of the 3, you'll do 1 reel. Awesome, but be consistent. It builds recognition, it builds credibility, it builds trust. People are going to inspect that. And you don't have to just keep, you don't have to recreate and reinvent the wheel. You just need rhythm, right? Find what's working, create more of that, right? So find that schedule, batch your content out, schedule it out, use Meta Business Suite. I showed you guys how to do that, right? Be efficient. The best way to build organic engagement and conversations, just a few things here. Don't post and ghost. That means like you're logging on, you're posting, and you're logging off. Interact with your audience because connection is strong. We have to nurture our audience, right? So outbound engagement, make a few minutes for it. Just a few minutes a day, 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes. We all have 5 minutes. Focus on highly shareable content, use strong hooks. Use call to actions at the end, use polls and interactive features, get people to interact with you with those stickers. respond quickly to comments and DMs. DMs are a form of customer service, whether we like it or not, right? So we've got to reply right away. That's why we have automations too, right? So set up those automations for frequently asked questions and stuff to kind of make sure that you're streamlining your time and not spinning your wheels and with the same questions. All right. Last but not least, make sure your accounts are optimized. We kind of went through those three platforms, how to optimize your accounts, post consistently, stay on brand, add value, be authentic. That means showing up as you. What that means for you as a business, I want you guys to sit down and write that down. That really comes down to brand personality, brand tone, all of those things that we have to have established if we want to do well on social. Establish credibility, like just build those relationships. That is what we're here for, right? On social. Watch your analytics regularly. Again, Meta Business Suite has everything right there. What I didn't show you at the top of Meta Business Suite is, you guys saw my Facebook analytics, but we can toggle between Facebook and Instagram. We can customize timeframes. It's wonderful. Data's right there, right? And then make sure that you create a social media strategy if you haven't yet. And calendar your months out, bash out your posts, schedule them, and monitor accordingly. All right. So each platform's different. We went through those top three, right? And hopefully you learned kind of what's working on those, how to optimize those. But just remember, if you're on other platforms, not everything that's going to work on these platforms will work on the next, right? If you're a TikToker, totally different platform, totally different demographic, totally different social culture. And yes, that is a thing. So, as social changes, make sure that you're learning and adapting. I'm constantly sharing kind of what's new in the industry. So feel free to follow me. But just know that, what's going to work on one social platform is not going to work on the next sometimes. That being said, thank you so much for being here. I know this was a fast-paced, information-packed webinar. I'm going to open up the chat and answer questions right now. But that being said, I would love to keep in touch. Please feel free to reach out. If you guys have any questions, I'm here for those. Like, DM me on Instagram. Hey, Tiff, like, what about this? Hey, Tiff, what about that? I'm here for that. I don't charge for that kind of stuff. I'm just here to support you guys. So, again, thank you for taking the time today. I am going to start answering questions. So, I was asked if you'll get a copy of the slides, you'll get a recording. And then let's see. Do you make the same LinkedIn recommendations for Glassdoor? So that's a total different platform. So again, every platform's different. If you're on a professional network, you definitely need to make sure it's as professional as possible and as up to date as possible. Any other questions? I'm surprised there aren't more questions. Let's see. Okay, again, thank you to the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation for having me. I am so thankful that I was able to teach you guys. I hope you learned so much, and I hope to be able to teach for them again. Again, keep in touch and reach out with any questions. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for your time and for sharing such helpful information with us. I'm sure everybody connected will put into practice all the tips and tricks you shared. Thank you once
Awesome.
again.
Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good rest of your week.
You too. Bye. And before you guys log off, we do have our COO and Business Loan Executive Director, Yeri Olivares, who will be sharing a little bit more about our business loans.
Thank you, Nelly. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. I'm sorry I'm jumping in here at the end, but I just wanted to make sure that I just briefly share with all of you a little bit about our CDFI, our Community Development Financial Institution, which is a program where we provide small business loans to the individuals that are either looking to start a business or have an existing business, or are thinking about starting a business. That may be the case for some of you here on the call. The Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation is also a community development financial institution. And so we decided that not only, when we started helping small businesses, as Nelly shared at the beginning of the workshop, a little bit about our programs and services, not only do we help, small businesses with getting started, licensing, permitting, business planning, but now we also provide access to loan capital. We know that one of the top challenges, aside from marketing, which is a huge need, is access to capital. You need money to be able to start a business. You need money to be able to invest back into your business. Maybe it means investing in marketing, or maybe it means in purchasing equipment. Maybe you have an existing business and you're looking for some equipment that's going to help you grow. We have a program that looks at those needs that you have as a business. We have generally our loan program, we're looking at providing loans anywhere between 5,000 to, right now the maximum we go to is 150,000. But I would tell you guys, the average loan size that we look at right now is anywhere from 40 to $50,000. The use of the funds for our program can be for working capital. It can be to purchase equipment. That's usually one of the main reasons of our loan activity, to purchase equipment, or to also cover startup expenses. Sometimes when you're going to start a business, you need to be able to have some capital to be able to have some cash flow as you're getting going with the business. And so it may help you cover some of the payroll to start with if you have employees, or purchase inventory for you to get going with the business. That's usually some of the most common uses of the funds. Now, one of the main questions we get all the time is like, okay, what's your interest rate and what do the terms look like? For us right now, of course, as you all know, there's a lot of different things going on here with our economy. We usually like to stay between 8 to 10%. It will depend based on the need that the business has and other factors. But, that is a very accessible interest rate when we're talking about, we see a lot of times business owners use their credit cards when they're paying, 20, 30, sometimes even 40% interest rate on the funds that they're using. So we are here because we know that small businesses have a hard time going to a bank to get a loan because you're just getting started, or because you're just recently established. And so we want to make sure that we're providing accessible and affordable loan capital to small businesses. Usually the term of these loans can be anywhere from 1 year to 5 years. If we go over 5 years, those are usually on the bigger deals, but just to give an idea, that's an average term. And like I said, we have every business has a different need. So depending on what the uses of funds and the amount is how we'll shape up the terms. We want to make sure that if you are interested in getting a loan, that you are able to take on that debt, and that two, it's going to be able to help your business. A lot of times people ask us, well, how much do I qualify for, or how much would I be able to get? And we always like to say, it really goes back to, like Nelly shared at the beginning, it goes back to us providing that guidance and assistance for the business to say, okay, what is it that your business needs? Because we don't want you to take on too much debt that you can afford, but we also don't want you to take too little that it's not going to help you get to that goal. So all that to say that, our loan programs that we have here for small business are flexible. We work directly with the businesses. We want to create that personal relationship with you so that you can come to us with whatever needs or challenges you may have, so that if our technical assistance team can help you out in some areas, that we're all working together towards the success of your business. So I just wanted to take these few minutes to share a little bit about our CDFI, our Small Business Loan Program. Please feel free to reach out. I'm going to put my information in the chat, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we can follow up with additional information and address your own personal needs. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, Nelly, for the opportunity for this few minutes to present about our small business loan programs here at the organization.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing. And now we have Sofia Rivera, who will be talking about the membership program. She is the Community Relations Director here at the Foundation.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you so much for being here to take the time to invest in learning more about social media. Like Nelly said, I'm Sofia Rivera. I'm the Community Relations Director at the Fresno Hispanic Foundation. But I would love to share more about our membership program and to expand on Yeri's point. Um, we do want to create that relationship with you as a business owner. Get to, can you hear me? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. But we want to support our entrepreneurs and small businesses throughout the Central Valley. And so we truly believe that business growth happens through connection and visibility in the community. And through our membership network, we are able to help you connect with business owners to provide opportunities, resources, workshops, networking events, collaboration, and marketing visibility that can ultimately help to elevate your business. And let me tell you, networking is key to elevate your business, to know how to market yourself. And some of the benefits of this membership include, access to events like our Negociantes Unidos breakfast meeting, our mixers. Our next breakfast meeting is happening on the 27th of this month. It's a Wednesday. It's at 7:30 a.m. So if you'd like to see what it's like, experience, if you're interested, feel free to let me, Nelly, know. Just if you want to, I'm gonna also put my information on the text box as well. But yeah, and then we're having a mixer on June 11th. But overall, being able to network, it's a good opportunity. We also do promotion through our social media platforms and email blasts, reaching over 14,000 contacts. In the end, of course, connecting with business leaders and makers, and of course, workshops like this one and access to resources through our organizations and partners. But yeah, overall, we really make an intentional effort to highlight and support your business within our network as a member, because we believe in doing business with our members and helping them grow. So yeah, whether you're starting your business or looking to expand your reach, we would absolutely love to support and explore how we can be intentional about helping your goals. So yeah, after today's workshop, if you'd like to learn more about our membership, or simply just connect, please feel free to come talk to me, to Nelly. We'll connect, and I'd love to meet you all. But thank you for being here, and yeah, I this is it. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia, for sharing. I did put your email and then our office number in the chat, as well as my email. But and that concludes today's webinar. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and stay tuned for future workshops. Please follow us on our social media. We always post our events there. We always have them on our website as well. I'll go ahead and put our website in the chat. And our social media as well. That way you guys can follow us and stay connected. But does anybody have any questions for us before you log off? Everybody will be receiving the recording as well.